topic, like you said, clergy, right? I don't need a title to go and speak the word. And not only that, if, like you said, if a man comes to me and he's speaking, saying that's false and everything, my word comes from the man, like from Jesus. Like that word was from God.
So let's say that you're giving your testimony, which is definitely not ministry, right? Because you don't care about titles and stuff. It's definitely not ministry. And a man comes in who's a Christian and he says, yeah, no, that's wrong. And you disagree with him. Are you going to try to correct him?
No, it's not my job to correct him.
So it's not your job to correct him. What happens if he says, okay, then be silent while I teach the rest of the class? Will you allow that?
Wait, so is he a person listening to my testimony, or he's the one running it? If he's listening,
he's listening to it, and he stands up and he goes, everything this chick is saying is wrong. I'm going to go ahead and teach something totally different than what she's teaching. Are you going to allow that?
Objecting. I mean, I'm sharing my perspective and my story of I know the truth of what happened to me. I don't need his approval of saying, oh, that's false or that's true.
But are you going to be backing that up with Scripture?
What do you mean?
Whatever you say your testimony is, you're going to back up with Scripture?
Back up with Scripture that he transformed my mind, he transformed my heart?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we know for sure that whatever you're saying according to the gospel is true? How do we know?
You're saying that what I'm backing up my testimony with, if it's true?
Yeah.
By my actions, my actions are different.
How do we know if it's true? Well, wait, no, hang on. We would know, wouldn't we, by appealing again to the gospel itself, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and the gospel itself says it do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man, right?
Okay, I'm a man of God.
Does it say that, or does it not say that?
Man of God.
A man of God. It talks about a woman submitting to her husband, but it also talks about a husband submitting and serving his wife.
And not being unequally yoked.
No, when it comes to mutual submission, I'm happy to get into that next, because what is called mutual submission and what you claim is mutual submission are two very, very, very different things. So when it comes to mutual submission, so moving back, though, away from submission and back to this, you claim that the way that people would know that your testimony was correct is if you could back it with gospel, right?
Yeah, with gospel and my actions. There's a change
and so
in
the gospel
my
is true. The gospel is true, right?
The gospel of what happened about Jesus, yes, all of that is true.
No, the entirety of the gospels is true.
Yes.
Not just the parts you don't like.
Yeah, I believe in the Bible 100%.
Okay, so I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man.
Can you read the scriptures above that and below?
Hang on. She must be quiet is true, correct?
Can you read the scriptures above that and below it?
Yeah, okay, but let's start with is that true?
No, he won't.
Can you read the scriptures? Because there's more context to it. I could give a name.
I'm going to ask you again if that's true.
If what's true?
If I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man, she must be quiet.
If it says it, then yes, I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and read
so
the
I'll
above
read it
and
in
below.
its entirety. I'll read it in its entirety for you. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. For Adam was formed first, then Eve. Mm-hmm. So who's the head here?
Adam.
Okay. And Adam was not deceived. But the woman was deceived and became the transgressor. So the reason here that he's giving for why it is that women cannot teach is because they are susceptible to deception and so will likely be preaching a false gospel and a false dogma. Going on from here, Adam was not deceived, but the woman was deceived, became the transgressor, yet she'll be saved through childbearing if they continue in faith and love and holiness with self-control. So after telling you the reasoning why it is you can't teach, then telling you specifically why you can't teach, it also goes on to tell you the pathway to salvation for how you be saved is through childbirth. So it's giving you everything you could ever want right there. You're not allowed to teach. You're not allowed to be a minister. You're not allowed, and the reason you're not allowed to assume that head authority role is because women are easily deceived, and he points this out by saying, who was deceived by the serpent? It was Eve. And then Eve was the transgressor against Adam, and that is who then went on to deceive Adam.